Good morning, good evening, and good day to whenever you're watching this. Hello, G1s. It's Tom the Iron Man here for the G1 interview for G1 Features exclusively on ScrewAttack.com. Now, in the spirit of the ScrewAttack 10-year anniversary, here on the line today, I have someone who has made their grand contributions both on camera and off camera. The site is not bigger than any one person, but this guy has certainly left his mark in a very, very short span of time. He is the classiest guy around, and as self-described at SGC 2013, he's dapper as fuck. He is John Francis McCullagh. John, are you there, sir?
Hello!
Ta-da!
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, ooh. And how's it going over there?
It's going well. It's going well.
Nice, nice. It's rapidly getting below freezing over here, even during the middle of the day. I hope it's still warm and in the 60s down over there, because
it's about 60 to 40 depending on the day, but gets chilly and warm sometimes in the same day.
I would gladly take that over what we're experiencing right now, because
yeah, I bet.
The mid-Atlantic Tidewater region of Virginia, it's psychotic. It can be burning up one day and then below freezing the next. So, but anyways, that's not the reason why I brought you here, sir. Sir, how did you first hear of ScrewAttack?
Oh, man. Okay, so let's see. I've actually known Ben and Nick since high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually met Nick. Okay, so in our school district, there was an outside, like, career school called Dale Jackson.
Okay.
Like you would take a bus there, or if you could drive, you would drive there. Well, I first started going when I was a junior, and to go to this class called Media Technology. And actually, the teacher of Media Technology runs our live streaming and our main stage at SGC, Mr. Ruska.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great. But anyways, so I actually met Nick in the back of the bus on the way to our first day of Dale Jackson.
Where all the cool kids hang out, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like we were talking and. Like, I was like, oh, I want to be a director. And he's like, oh, yeah, I want to be in film, too. And then Ben, was in that class as well. And Ben and Nick became really good friends. And, like, around, or like right after Media Tech, we all took, like, one semester off. So, like, Media Tech 2 was the next semester.
Right.
But around that time, I think Ben became, like, the first intern or something for ScrewAttack. And so around Media Tech 2, like, the next year, like, I kind of heard when, like, oh, yeah, we're kind of working at ScrewAttack and stuff. I was like, oh, what's this? And so I checked it out, and that was, like, the really early days. And I was like, seems interesting. I didn't really get what it was at the time. But, like, a few weeks later after I had heard about it, like, I saw Nick had, like, fan art or something. I was like, what, Nick? How do you have fan art of it? What is this ScrewAttack? This is insane. But yeah, that's how we first heard about it, and then like, stayed really good friends with Nick and Ben. I'd hang out with Nick more because Ben was always off doing something. Nick and I never really knew what.
Right.
Yeah, like 3 years ago now, around February, I was hanging out with Nick and our friend Philip, and well, I guess that's the next question. But that's how I first heard about ScrewAttack. It was just this place that Ben and Nick made videos at, and they had fan art of them, and I had no idea what was going on. So
wow, yeah, no, that's going back to version 1, version 2 days. That version of the site that you saw was unique.
Yeah.
And Craig's brother Brad actually coded the first version of that.
Oh, nice.
So the one that had the super 90s sidebar on the left, as it turns out, each page was actually like hand coded.
Oh,
like
wow.
They weren't using cascading style sheets or anything. If you know anything about CSS, it was just like, oh my gosh, I only took one semester of that in school, and I'm thinking of the nightmare that went into that. So, man, that's pretty crazy that this continuing trend of everybody seemed to know everybody. That
speaking of that, so Brad, my brother Michael's a musician, and he was in this band called Dapper. And Brad actually helped produce Dapper's first album back in high school. Because like my brother was in town recently, and I was talking about my boss Craig Skissimus, and he's like, "Does he have a brother named Brad?" I was like, "Yeah, man, that guy helped produce Dapper's first album."
Oh,
so small,
man, that is so crazy. The brother connection lives strong down there.
Yeah,
that's super wild. So clearly you'd heard about the site for a long time, really in its infancy days. When did you? How did you go about getting in contacted? Did Ben or Nick suggest that you fill out an application, or was there an intern posting on a bulletin board somewhere? How did that all come about?
Funny story. So, yeah, I would hang out with Nick, and he'd been staying with ScrewAttack for until today even. Like, I'm working at like Barnes and Noble. I dropped out of college twice, basically to pursue film.
Right.
And
gotta go with your heart.
Huh?
You gotta go with your heart.
Exactly. And like I was kind of in school for film, but it was like a weird roundabout way to do it. And I was like, this is just wasting my time. Like I just need to focus. So I got a part-time job at Barnes and Noble, and like while I was working there, I was trying to get a YouTube channel started with my friend Cade, kind of helping me out. And I made one video. It was just the secret handshake, and very silly. And that was like November of I guess like 2011. And I showed it to some people on Facebook and stuff, and I sent it to Mr. Ruska. And he leaves this comment saying, "Give me a call." Ooh. And I'm like wondering, like, what does this mean? Does he think is he gonna say like, "John, this really sucked, I'm disappointed," or is he gonna like praise it? I don't know. I have no idea, because like he's hard to read, especially through text.
Oh yeah.
So I give him a call, and he's like, "Yeah, so I saw your video, it was a lot of fun." I was like, "Oh, good." So yeah, so you know about ScrewAttack? I was like, "Yeah, Ben and Nick work there." I was like, "Yeah, they're actually looking for some interns right now to do editing. Just calling to see if you're interested." And at the time, I didn't have a car, and I thought that ScrewAttack's headquarters were in the city of Dallas. Like I know it'll say Dallas and a little picture of Dallas down there. That's just because we couldn't find a good picture of Flower Mound. But I live in Flower Mound. It's like 20-30 minutes away. Just driving from the actual city of Dallas. I thought they were like in Dallas. So I'm like, oh man,
I think we
great.
all did in the very early days.
Yeah. Like, man, that would be cool, but like, one, I do need to get kind of paid, and second, I can't get there. I don't have a car to get there. I was like, all right, well, if something changes, let me know. So that was November of like 2011. Come like early April of 2012, I'm hanging out with Nick and our friend Philip, and I'm talking about like, man, I just need to find a full-time job that has weekends off, so I can get enough money and like have the weekends to devote to like building a YouTube channel and just like really following, getting stuff going in film. And he was like, we're actually looking to hire an editor at ScrewAttack. And I was like, and at this time I now had a car. Like my father gave me a car. I was like, is this an internship? He's like, no, we're hiring, like right off the bat. And I was like,
my gosh, Nick,
get me that job. Get it to me now. And he's like, I'll do what I can. And I was like, you keep me updated. And so like he had Craig email me, and I emailed Craig like a little thing about me, and I sent him the handshake video. And I was out of what I consider school now is my kung fu school. I was out of school because I didn't have a job, so I couldn't pay for tuition for that. But I was still practicing editing and practicing kung fu by doing this like Kung Fu 365 challenge, and like trying to do like a weekly update. So I sent him that channel as well. And we eventually met up at a Chipotle because he didn't want me to know where the office was yet. It turns out I was actually the closest to the office based on where I lived.
Oh wow!
I was like, I thought you guys were in the city of Dallas. Like, no, like you're right down the street. I could have walked there. But yeah,
was this Chipotle off of Justin?
It was kind of off of Justin. It was on like $24.99.
Okay.
It's the old place. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really narrow casting at this point. I don't think many G1s know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, we met at the Chipotle, and we just kind of talked about like my experience and like stuff like that. And near the end of the interview, he was like, "Cool. Well, if you want to check out the office," and that's when I kind of felt like, okay, yeah, I got this job, because at the start of the interview, it was like, well, the reason we're meeting here is because I don't want you to know where the office is, and now we show him the office. It was like, cool.
Slam dunk. That's fantastic. Yeah. So Craig is a pretty tall drink of water. Were you intimidated at all when you first met him?
Not really. Just a typical like, okay, job interview kind of feel, but he wasn't like, staring me down or something. Like he was a very approachable guy, as he still is, like, and just, cool, collected. So
nice.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's fantastic. So now, what was your first day like when you actually were brought on? Because this is one of those rare times where someone has actually gone from being hired straight up rather than starting as an intern and then getting promoted within.
Yeah, so basically, apparently Nick had been talking me up. Like, John is like the most interesting person you'll ever meet, and he's so crazy. And like he apparently, like, we used to do prank calls, like when I was hanging out with Nick and Philip.
Oh boy,
we would prank call people, and I would most often be the one doing the prank calls, and just very silly, nonsense. Those are other stories. But apparently he had talked about those throughout, and so like, in Craig's mind, I was this wacky, like, man of the world, like, say and do anything kind of person, I guess. And so he meets me at the interview, and then like the first day, I'm just sitting there, editing, quiet. And like I get like most Advantage members will have seen John's first day. What does 4 hours of comfort get you?
Oh, so that literally was the first day.
That was my first day.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, and like, near the end of the day, Craig was just like, so John, like, Nick says you're really kind of nuts. And I just kind of laughed at this. Like, oh yeah, really? And I was like, yeah, like, but you're so quiet.
Good, I like it.
And I was like, well, I don't really know you guys yet. Like, I'm still getting to know you. It's been 4 hours. He's like, okay, well, what can I get for 4 hours? And I mean, I guess I could dance. Because I love dancing, like, as long as there's good music, like, I'm totally comfortable dancing. So that's the story behind that video.
Wow.
But yeah, like, Craig went on to say, I think at one of the SGCs, like, yeah, so when I first met John, like, Nick had been talking about, like, as I was saying, but he was just so boring. Like, he just sat there and didn't say anything. But as you can probably see, and as I know now, he's one of the craziest people I've ever met.
And to that point, those wallpapers that you designed. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a hot second, not to derail the whole thing, but...
Oh, no, of course, yeah.
The artist's mind sees into many, many different dimensions and things and whatever just pulls out and ends up on the proverbial canvas. What is your inspiration for that stuff? Because it looks like something out of a nightmare of mine, but it's priceless at the same time. What is the creative process behind that? Okay,
so for those wallpapers, I first did this in Nick. I was, before we had our nice new laptops that can render very quickly, I was working on a Mac Mini, and it took, like, just for hard news, when I was editing hard news, that was my first editing job there, it took an hour and a half.
Oh.
So if I were stuck at the office, like, at, like, midnight, and I had to render something, especially a top 10, like, that would be 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. And so I'm sitting there with nothing to do, and it's got to go up that night. And I see Nick's computer, and I had this old habit, and I still do it every now and then. If I see someone's phone, I'll take it and I'll change the background to a picture of me. I do tutorial every now and then. Yeah, he left his laptop there, and I guessed his password. And I opened up Photo Booth, and I put on like this weird like flat top like rubber wig thing, and I had this gun, like this jacket. And I just did like simple like mirrored image, but from there, like every now and then I would just be stuck at the office, exporting a video, and it was like, Chad's computer's over there. Let's leave him a nice surprise. And so I would just like I would always have like an idea in my head, just kind of some weird random thing that would pop up, like sometimes it starts out as something completely different, and just due to the limitations of the images I have, Like originally for Chad's picture, it's just like a picture of me, like 2 pictures of me, like one kind of calm and weird, and one kind of crazy and like fire and ice kind of coming out of his head.
Right.
Originally, it was going to be like a bunch of pictures of me like shooting out of his head and like piloting him. But I was like, I don't have time to shoot all that.
Oh.
So I just took a picture of him from Hard News and a picture, like 2 pictures from my Facebook, and I made like the perfect reality. Like for some reason, like the duality of John was like the peace of mind for Chad.
Oh man, that's really something else. Now, guys, if you're at SGC and he sees a phone that's unlocked, you're gonna get a surprise. But do not go out of your way to get that surprise. Otherwise, it doesn't come across as being genuine.
Of course, yeah.
Now, you brought up hard news for a second. That was something that was definitely a challenge to film something, assemble it, put it together, and have it done.
Yeah.
You said it took about an hour to render.
It used to.
Yeah, on the old stuff, because I have down over here my first computer that I bought in a very long time. It said AMD Phenon quad core from like 5 years ago, and I feel your pain when it comes to long rendering times. The assembly process for doing hard news from cover to cover before you hit that export button, about how much time invested do you think really went into it one episode?
Well, okay, so it changed. Basically, like when I first started, it took a long time because I was like, okay, we got all these assets we got to animate. We got all these video clips I got to download and put in there. I actually got to shoot, whenever. First was Chad for a while, and then, Sean Hines became, a substitute host and then the host. Stan would come in every now and then. But basically, I got it down from like basically a whole day in the first like week of doing it to about 3 hours. Basically, whenever the host had it written and was ready to go, we'd shoot it, and it was always great when it was one take.
Yes.
But sometimes it'd be like 2 or 3. But I would actually have our monitor, what's it called, with the text, the screen.
Oh, yes.
I actually had hold on a laptop and like work the arrow keys behind the camera.
Oh,
so we didn't, for a long time, we didn't have like the fancy what the actual news hosts have with the
teleprompters.
Teleprompter, yeah.
Right.
We didn't have a proper teleprompter, so we used this weird like free program, on a Mac. I would put it in. I would chop it up really quickly. I'd drop in the B-roll. I got it down to a process, and especially whenever we got our new laptops, when we got on with full screen, exporting was like at most 10 minutes, and so I'd be done by like 3 o'clock. Especially with Sean Hines, because he would always get in early and be ready by the time like I got there.
Nice.
If not like an hour later. Sam always took quite a while to get it written.
Right.
But he was probably the most fun to shoot it with, especially on the kickbacks, because I wouldn't tell him when he'd be good. Because all right, Sam, give us a kickback. So he'd just spout off nonsense, and I would just keep looking at the camera and act like he wasn't finished, and he would feel self-conscious and like, was that not good enough? I just have to keep going, and he would just keep going on, and a lot of it was very inappropriate.
Oh man,
Sam was probably the most fun just because he's so silly, but Sean was the most efficient.
Right. Sometimes efficiency beats spontaneity, and when it comes to something as time crunchy as that, and that gives a whole new perspective that some people may not have had that have just started to learn how to edit video. I did a 30-second promo for my Xbox One 12-hour stream at launch. 30 seconds took me about an hour.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just like if you're really gonna do it right, it's just one of those things. So, 3 hours for something that's probably 3 to 5 minutes long if it goes right. So there you go, guys. Real blood, sweat, and tears goes into that.
Yeah.
And speaking of blood, sweat, and tears, you are responsible for probably my most favorite thing that's hit the site in the last 5 years. The industry.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. That was a lot of fun.
It's scripted content like that was such a commonplace thing seen on the site, whether it be the clip of the week or E3 overtime or something like that. That stuff was a staple, and then it went away for a little while, and now we've gotten it back in this little window right here. You and Bolin, how did this come together in terms of like, we're gonna do this Office-like series based on things that have actually happened with some creative license? I guess that would be.
That's a good word for it.
Okay. So tell me, how did this all come together? Who came up with it first? Where did the idea come from? The premise, all of this.
So yeah, like you were saying, ScrewAttack really started strong with like, you know, scripted content like that, and it went away for a while. And like I had tried to do some videos that were kind of like, you know, like the Destiny, you know, in real life.
Oh my God! Yeah. Okay, Destiny Dolphin, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And of course, previous Destiny one where Sam and, you know, Sean kill each other.
Right.
You know, I tried to like get a few of those videos in there to be like, hey, like let's get back to this. Like they didn't perform too well, and you know, just from a business side standpoint, like, you know, the show's got to perform well. Right.
Exactly.
But you know, Sean comes on. You know, when Sean came on, Sean Boland, like, you know, a few months before the industry was shot, we were both like, we really want some live action content because I want to be a film director.
Right.
That is my goal, like a major motion film director. And well, I need practice.
Right. How else are you supposed to cut your teeth, right?
Exactly. Plus, that's just what I love to do on day to day.
Right.
And so, like, we were throwing around like show ideas, and I had some ideas, and Sean had some ideas. And probably the most prominent one that he had, and the most fleshed out one he had, was an early version of what we were originally going to call "Welcome to the Industry." And it was about like this weird intern that Sean was going to play, that comes into the office and like, you know, sees us like through this like these weird the weird eyes of this crazy intern. He's supposed to be a very awkward character, which we kind of kept with how obnoxious Sean plays himself as in the first few episodes. But yeah, so I was like, all right, Sean, we'll write a script. Let's shoot a pilot, and we showed him the pilot, and he was like, all right. And we were like, we want 6 episodes. We want 6 episodes. See how it does, and you know, we'll go from there after that. And he's like, all right, well, I'll give you 6 episodes, and you know, let's get to 100,000 and see how it does. Yeah, that's really how it began.
Wow.
So,
you know, sometimes guys, you just got to take a chance.
Yeah.
That's clearly it paid off. My goodness, it's, you know, it has exceeded my expectations. Every episode that followed the one next to it just like made me go, oh my gosh, this is like so real, but also so great. Especially the one where, and this is like going like super inside. A lot of newer G1s may not get this reference at all, but the one with what's Craig afraid of?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Long-time listeners of Side Scrollers probably saw this coming from a mile away, but Craig is afraid of haunted houses and ghosts and stuff, but yet he loves Halloween with such a hardcore passion. It's this weird dichotomy.
When he knows it's fake, he's totally fine with it.
Right, exactly. You know, if it's something that he himself set up, but, you know, just like the whole thing where Sean was just trying to sneak that sheet out of there. So, it was just like, this is too great.
So, funny story about that episode. So all but the last 2. Well, we can talk about those in a second.
Right.
But they're all basically really based on things that actually happened, but with license. Like the first episode is like an amalgamation of like things that happened, just a way of introducing everyone in the office. But that ghost episode is almost word for word and action for action of what actually happened. Like in real life, he actually went on to try to like spook him again. Like he it's like in the episode, like they're talking about like, oh, let's haunt the office, and like immediately like Austin like brought up like, okay, so like we're gonna have to do this and this, because he pulled up some websites on how to like, you know, conjure ghosts. And it all came out.
We got a Ouija board in the closet.
Because like, you know, we were actually, for, you know, other reasons, we were actually making a doc of like what makes you uncomfortable.
Oh.
So that's what brought the whole thing up. Like, you know, like that. It's a weird premise for the start of the episode, but that actually happened. And then Craig gets brought up, and, you know, Austin starts doing that, and Craig actually heard, and he was really pissed off. Like, don't fucking do this. And so Sean gets this idea. He actually went in there. He said the actual thing of, I'm trying to sneak something out of the office, but I don't want you to know what it is. And he actually crawled on the ground just like that.
Oh, man.
And, like, he was screaming, like, oh, she's going to kill me. Like, Chad, help me. And so the episode finishes with, you know, like, Craig going, like, really? A white sheet? You know, try harder next time. Yeah. But in real life, it went on further. Like, he took the sheet out of the room, and like Craig was threatening to kick him in the nuts. Yeah, put that shit on.
Classic
Right,
Craig
I'll kick you in
move.
the nuts. And so Sean got another idea. He was like, he went to the back and I was like, hey Parker, help me out. And like he like held like a paint can in front of his nuts and then put the sheet over him and was like trying to go over back to him to try to like antagonize Craig to try to get him to kick him in the nuts so he'd hurt his foot.
Right.
The whole time, like right before Sean walks back in the room with the paint can, Craig goes, Sean, I know exactly what you're doing. I've been watching you on the security cameras.
Can't get one up on him. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So,
That's fantastic. Now, you said for the most part that all but 2 were based in reality. Which obviously the season finale was one of them.
oh yeah.
And was it the episode that preceded it that was also the one that was a little off? Or?
Yeah. So the Jocelyn episode.
Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking of the Ildo Day episode.
Oh no. So
okay. No.
So at the end of the dildo episode,
Yeah.
you know, there's a whole confrontation between Sean and Craig with the actual piece.
Right.
That didn't happen, but I mean, Sean spent an entire day going, we need to get a dildo because it would be funny for videos. So we just took the whole idea of him talking about how funny it would be to have dildos and just like showed what, an exaggerated view of like dramatized view of what he was thinking, what he would thought would happen. So the conversation aspect of that episode is totally real. Same with the Desk of Death Battle. Same with the Death Battle episode when he's talking to Torian about too many flips. Like that conversation, that argument went on for an entire day.
Oh man.
Like it was nonstop. Like the two of them were bickering about it, like doing too many flips, and Torian would defend his point. So, Sean didn't go on to actually make an animation.
Right. Obviously.
But yeah, they're all pretty much based on at least real in-depth conversations we've had.
Gotcha.
But but the Jocelyn episode is more inspired by because like, so we know we've been on record saying Jocelyn's not real, she's a fictional character, and like whenever I do the upload, because a lot of times Craig will do the uploads onto YouTube,
right?
But like if he's out of town and I do the upload, then I'll put in the credits like Lisa Foyles is the voice of Jocelyn, and on Lisa Foyles' Twitter it says she does the voice of Jocelyn. And at the end of Death Battle, it says like, hey, I'm Ben and Chad, we play these characters. For some reason, a vocal minority thought that Jocelyn was a real person, and she said something offensive to a certain demographic, and they actually sent an email to Sean Boland saying, you need to fire Jocelyn.
What?
Yeah, so we just thought it was kind of funny. Like, she's a fictional character, and they think that she's this real person.
Oh my gosh!
And so the episode was just like a what if scenario. Like, what if the crew thought she was real, but she's not. So Sean, the argument goes nowhere because like in the end, like Nick is still mad and still thinks she's real,
right?
And Sean was never convinced that she is real. So it's just like a never-ending argument. But it's just like a really weird hypothetical situation.
Man, and it's funny about the vocal minority thinking Jocelyn's real. If you ever get a chance to listen to some of the very, very early episodes of Side Scrollers, and I mean, like,
oh yeah.
Okay, I mean, you've heard them, like, Craig was on the left channel and Tom was on the right channel, and it was really hard to listen to, but, that's how it was. And they would always, like, you heard Andy was real, but you never heard Jocelyn, and I just assumed for the longest time until he broke the reality for me at NecoCon 2011, because they were down for the Iron Man of Gaming, and I wish I could have seen my face, because I just felt it fall. I'm like, I've been lied to.
Exactly.
Everything I know is a lie. Wow, that's crazy. So, of course, that kind of leads into the season finale, which was just absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
I've watched it many times, but it was most recently that I noticed when Boland wakes up that the aspect ratio changed.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is how far this has gone. It's actually being shot further than 16:9. What was that, 2 to 35 to 1?
Exactly, yeah. And
oh my gosh, how about that? That's fantastic.
Very good.
So, were you? What kind of camera were you using for that whole thing?
So for the first part, when we're actually having the John Woo marathon, it's the same camera I used for all the other episodes, just so that it would feel the same way.
Right.
Just like Canon T5i.
Right.
And I forget the camera we use. I think it's Sony, but it's a higher end camera. And I don't know if you met Noel Wiggins at SGC, but the one before, not this year, but the one before that. He just kind of came up and was like, "Hey, like I like your site. Like, do you mind if I just record some stuff for you guys?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." And then like I see him around the con, and he's like got this crazy awesome equipment, and then we see the footage, and it's like beautiful. And then he does it again this year, and so Sean like, "Man, we gotta work with this guy." And like he sent us an email like, "Hey, if you guys like, I love what you showed at SGC about the industry. If you really want some help," and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna put him to work." But I can't remember exactly what kind of camera it was that we shot the John Woo portion of the episode in. But.
So he was the one running the camera for all that, because I was thinking, man, that would be really hard for you to go ahead and do a shot and then go over holding the camera for when it's bowling shot. I was like, my gosh.
Yeah. So he was a cinematographer, but I was the director for all the episodes.
Right.
So I would always direct him on what kind of shot I want and things. So. But yeah,
that's awesome. When it comes to acting and directing, that some people say that puts an immense amount of pressure on the person. Do you find that's the case, or are you able to spin both plates relatively easily?
I feel so. It's just what I love to do, honestly. Like, I've wanted to be a film director since I was 4 years old. Aww. And like, over the years, I just kind of fell in love with acting, and so like I like to be both behind and in front of the camera, and I don't know. For me, it just kind of makes sense because like whenever I'm on camera, I just have to make sure I trust my cinematographer.
Right.
So I make sure I work with people who I trust, and I trust Noel because he's professional and he gets great shots and everything. So
clearly, because that thing glowed in the dark.
Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
well polished. Man, that was 6 episodes of bliss. Should we be so lucky to see something like that ever grace our web pages ever again? Come on, guys, let's get the Ildo Day episode up, and maybe it'll actually happen. So, all right. So I mean. No doubt, when you're working in the office, when you're putting stuff together, when you're doing things, what was the last thing you truly saw there that really made you laugh?
Really made me laugh. Like, Sean and I were hanging out yesterday, and we actually we finished the night on watching the John Woo episode again.
Nice.
So, I mean, like, we still crack up at that, just like
it's so good.
Because like we went into that like shooting like. Yeah, I think one of Sean's friends or family said, Torian's mother actually said, it seems like you guys had too much fun shooting this, and Torian was like, yeah, we did. And for the John Woo episode, like that was the whole idea. Like I was just like hanging out with Sean, and I was like, you know what, like screw whatever we had planned for the season finale. Let's just do a John Woo parody. Because like we both love Hard Target, which is like my favorite John Woo film. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So the whole point was just to have fun and be silly. And I don't know, like that day of shooting was 18 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had to reshoot the fight because we actually shot too much slow motion.
Oh.
The fist fight, luckily just that part. So we had another day, like a week later, doing the fist fight. And that was like another 4 or 5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So a whole 24 hours of shooting went into that episode. And I don't know, that and the Jocelyn episode makes me laugh. I also just feel really good about the Jocelyn episode because while the John Woo episode was like a great spectacle and a lot of fun to shoot and like good action, I was mimicking another person's like directing style. At the whole point, I was trying to mimic John Woo as best I could. But the Jocelyn episode, I felt I flexed my director muscles the most.
That's the one you carried, the one that I own, the one that I released.
Yeah, because like I did a lot more writing for that one as well. A lot of the other ones, I would help. I would like give Sean feedback and stuff. But I really helped write the Jocelyn and the John Woo episode. But and like the previous episodes, I'm like, all right, be silly, like say it kind of like this, just kind of minimal directing because they're very good at being silly and being over the top.
Right.
So in that regard, I mainly just had to direct blocking and little things here and there. And I had full control over the editing, so I just directed myself on that. But for that one, like I talked to Sean. I was like, I want to take a much more serious tone with this one to sell the absurdity of it. So I felt like I I got like a really good performance out of these people who are not professional actors.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons I feel really proud about that episode. And I felt like I really worked with each of the actors of the cast of my crew members to get a really good performance out of them. So
wow, so you got not only just something that you were super proud of, but you also had a ton of good memories tied to it as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Man, that's really, really not many people can say that, and you definitely were able to say it across not one but two things at the same time. That's wild. So now you've been here 2 years now, if I'm remembering correctly.
Almost 3.
Almost 3.
Coming up this coming April will be 3.
I was gonna say May, so I was pretty close. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Man, time has really flown because I mean, I met you in passing very briefly at SGC 2013, but it's like I could already tell that you were family by the time that part had rolled around. So that's the camaraderie in that group is just so strong, and it's so good to have another face in the crowd that we all know and can count on, depend on, and laugh with. So to that end, what are some of your fondest memories with ScrewAttack thus far?
Oh man, I think about it now. I think how long have I been there? I can't remember the precise number how long I've been here. Maybe almost 4 years. Anyways, fondest memory.
Yes.
Fondest memory. I would have to say outside of the industry, I think shooting and outside of SGC, because SGC is always a great time.
Yeah, it's like its own self-contained thing against everything else.
Outside of those two things, I think one of my favorite moments was the Fight for Destiny video with Sean and Sam.
Yeah.
Because that was just so ridiculous, and like originally I was just gonna have them fight over like a Pop-Tart or something, but Sam had the good idea of like, let's have them fight over like a Destiny code or something. I was like, all right, that's fair. I just wanted them to kill each other over something ridiculous.
Right.
It was actually funny because I don't want to spoil things for anyone for Game of Thrones. But there's a Game of Thrones homage we made at the end.
Right.
How Sean kills Sam. And that's actually the way a certain character dies in Game of Thrones. I won't say who in case people haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know if this was a yet to be unreleased book or if it's anything that's actually aired.
Yeah, it's aired on the show, and it aired like a few months before we shot that episode.
Oh, okay.
That video. So, and it was like my favorite character still, and like it was Sam's like favorite character as well. And like a few nights before, like we were hanging out the night before Acon that year, and like just randomly we would both be hit with, oh no, that character, like we're so sad he's gone now.
Right.
Like, and like for a few days we were both just lamenting that character. And so in a weird way, kind of directing and having Sam get killed that way was almost therapeutic and cathartic.
So you somehow turned a personal tragedy into a happy memorial of some kind.
I guess so. It's just a real, like homage to that character.
Oh man.
But yeah, just shooting that was a lot of fun. It was so wacky.
Yeah, no, that was something that was pretty crazy because there's always been practical effects have always been used at the office whenever they could, and you could tell when they were done, and they've done really, really well. And then of course there's been the wonderful blood splatter effect whenever somebody gets hit something, and it's always put on the screen just barely long enough to be there and not draw attention. That whole thing was just like the happy medium of both. I mean, like, how long from cover to cover did it take for that to get put together? Because the way Sean was acting, he would kill somebody over Destiny the way he talks about it right now. But, back then, it was before we even knew his obsession would be that bad. So what was the process for all of that?
So funny, so Sean Hines is the one who's really obsessed with Destiny.
Yes.
Sean Bolin, he liked Destiny, and then he gave it up for a while because he was so mad about it, because of the problems it had.
Many of them are still there today, and yet I keep going back to it like a bad girlfriend. So
exactly, but like Sean Boland has started playing again, and they fixed like 90% of the stuff that he was upset about. So now he loves the game again. But Sean Hines still holds the flag for obsession.
Right.
But cover to cover for that. So I planned it out the night before. I made the props for like whenever like Sean Boland's like guts are spilled out from the sword.
Mm-hmm.
I made those out of like pantyhose and like cotton.
Nice.
And then the next day, it was like a Friday when and there was only a few people in the office, and Craig was gone because his second daughter was being born.
Yes.
Everyone else was at E3, and we shot basically the entire workday for that. And then I told myself I'll edit this later, but then I spent that night editing it.
Oh wow!
So basically, like a whole day, just like a full 24 hours from like basically like hashing out the concept, doing the choreography, shooting it the next morning, editing it, doing sound effects, putting music in. So, yeah.
Wild. Fantastic. And for those of you guys, please go back and check that out. Those two Destiny episodes were something really, really special too. That came out of a game that really, really let me down. Those videos were actually, it's funny. They've brought back the Sparrow is the little craft that, Parker was running on as the Dolphin. They've brought in Sparrow Racing as a limited time event, and I just every once in a while I'll tweet at the Destiny. I was like, a Dolphin would be really cool with a link to the video. I don't know, maybe one day they'll do it. That's the only
they put part of that video in like their highlight reel, fan made videos.
Fantastic. I'm glad it got the recognition it deserves, even if it was fleeting in the video or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll have
it's like an hour long, but it was there. So
wow.
I didn't know that until someone told me. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice. Wow, that's good. So it definitely reached an audience beyond, which is what videos should do. You try to reach out to as many people as you can. And that being said, all of this that has gone on, did you ever dream that this would be your 9 to 5 this early on in your career?
ScrewAttack, my 9 to 5. No, I always had this crazy notion that at some point I was just going to be a film director, and that would be my 9 to 5, which it will be.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, I'll be able to make that happen. But working at ScrewAttack, no, I didn't think. My parents, my family will occasionally joke about how when I was a kid, I wasn't the biggest gamer, but of course I played games a lot as a kid. So they joke about how oh, gaming won't get you anywhere. And now it's pretty much I have a job focused around gaming. No, yeah, whenever I heard about ScrewAttack, back in high school, I didn't expect to be working there. And now I am, and I made Industry Season 1, and I got to travel here and there, and it's been a lot of fun. So
awesome. And, speaking of traveling, it just popped in the back of my head. The choreography sword fighting school video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That whole thing, you happened to be down in the area, or did you guys get invited? Because when I found out later on, I think I asked Ben on Facebook or something like that who did the editing for that, and he said it was you, especially with all the lightsaber effects at the end. And I was just like, this is if Lucasfilm had this kind of talent back then, it just really blew my mind how well you overlaid it and everything. So, I mean, how did that whole thing come down and when you were there filming it? Because you were the ninja, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So, how did that all come to be? Because that's seemed so random, but those were the old day in the life videos we used to see quite frequently. What was that all about?
So we were in town visiting Fullscreen. Mm-hmm. We were there for a week. We had some meetings out there, and we just stayed the whole week and worked there. Mm-hmm. Basically, that it was a fencing school, and
fencing school. Okay.
Outside of that, they just kind of have their own YouTube channel, and they just make videos like that. Mm-hmm. And turns out that they were big fans of Hard News and Sean Hines.
Wow!
And so they tweeted at Sean one time. It was like, "Hey, big fan, love your stuff." I forget the exact conversation they had, but basically it amounted to "Hey, if you're ever in town, let me know and let's do something." And so Sean Hines just remembered that. He was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're gonna go shoot this video at this fencing school." And I was like, "I'm going."
Nice.
So we went there, and they gave us some like basic, like fencing technique stuff, and then we suited up and we shot until like 1 in the morning, if not later. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was just like kind of a spur of the moment almost. It was like the day before we kind of had to lock down, and then the next day we went out to do it. Just a wacky time.
That is a quite unique experience, and how quickly it all came together like that. Now, for the After Effects nerds out there, how did you go about creating that lightsaber effect?
So, man, every time it's been a while since I've touched After Effects, because I didn't do the effects for the John Woo hard drive episode. I had Gerardo do that.
Yeah, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah, he was awesome. But just for time's sake, I had to have him do it. Because for one, like he's better than me at it, and I needed to focus on other aspects of post-production for that episode.
Right, exactly.
So for the lightsaber effect, basically, I had to like basically keyframe it, like frame by frame do it.
Oh my!
And yeah, I basically just like I masked out the blade, it was like a PVC pipe blade they had on there.
I figured it would have been something like that for you to follow it that easily.
Yeah. And basically it was just 5 layers of very varying feathered edges. I just put whatever kind of lag on the light I felt was necessary and if it looked good. And then of course whenever it was behind something I would mask over that part and everything. So, and then of course the sound effects sell it in the end.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's so it was all keyframes.
For the lightsaber, yeah, it was.
Wow. Okay, that's serious. But yeah, it paid off. It really made me go, my God, this is like Lucasfilm '83 right here. I was just like, wow, cool stuff. So yeah, that just like I'm trying to learn that, and I'm picking up anything like this, because if this was like a year ago, I'd be like, oh, what? Excuse me. And now I'm like understanding this. So
yeah, check out videocopilot.net. I basically used several of their tutorials to get through Destiny in real life, sort of, to do a lot of the effects there.
Nice.
So that was like my little hand guide for that, that crazy visual effects episode. So
nice. So, man, a wealth of knowledge that I've just taken in right there. So, Jono, as far as the community goes, what do you think they best know you for?
At this point, people who do know me probably know me for the desktop backgrounds and the industry. I think those, because I'm not really on camera too much other than that. There's been little things like on stream here and there, but I think I put most noticeable work into the industry and desktop backgrounds.
Now, that being said, guys, read the credits whenever they roll, because that way you'll know who helped put it all together.
Definitely.
So yeah. Now, I know you have your own production company, Title Pending. Let's go talk about that for a little bit. How long have you been operating? What are some noteworthy projects? What is is there a specific film genre that you focus on, or are you open to any and all things that are coming in?
So basically, I went to college for a little bit, and I made a friend there, Tim Stevens, who was my co-founder of Title Pending. And then dropped out of college, and then eventually started working at ScrewAttack. And like after the first SGC that I worked at, he contacted me. He was like, "Hey man, want to meet up sometime and talk about film?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And basically from that meeting, went on to do a few more meetings, and we shot our first project, Love Is a Grave. We had like a premiere showing at this nightclub in Dallas. Pretty sweet deal. Like, luckily one of his friends knew the owner, and we just kind of went from there. We decided to call our little collective Title Pending Productions, and we made a few projects. A very strange web series. And we made my short film Forevermore, but kind of the original intent was focusing on kind of like gothic, kind of horror, kind of gothic drama. I think now it's a little more open to some more things, but we still kind of focus more towards the gothic horror, gothic drama kind of field.
Nice.
So, but notable projects. We just finished actually shooting a short Tim's short film, The Resurrectionist. and that takes place post Civil War. Deals with voodoo, the KKK, racism, and everything like that. And East Texas, right after the Civil War, and that should be coming out in a while, hopefully. And there's been my own personal short film, Forevermore, which I wrote, directed, and starred in. So.
Wow. So where can they go to watch those when both of those drop?
Well, Forevermore is up, as with all of our other projects that are done. And you can go to titlependingproductions.com. And we have a website. We have a YouTube channel as well. Mm-hmm. You can find all our videos on the website.
Okay, excellent.
So,
well, there you go, guys. There's something to check out as soon as you're done watching this. Please go and patronize that website.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's stuff that I really like to be in on, because what do you guys do when you're not at the office? Clearly, you're not focusing on that all day. That'd be exhausting, and you wouldn't get a chance to partake of your interests elsewhere and everything. So it's really cool to see things like that. To more or less the same extent how James Rolfe isn't just doing the Angry Video Game Nerd all the time. He's got his own stuff at Cinemassacre for that same reason. So it's good. I am actually going to go ahead and check all that stuff out as soon as I'm done here, because I genuinely mean that. I love to see what else is going on up here that you put down on the paper and then comes out on the screen. That stuff that fascinates me and everything. So clearly we know you want to be a director, and you said you've wanted to do that since you were a little bitty. As far as acting goes, are you taking any kind of courses or reading any kind of literature to help you expand upon that?
I took 2 acting classes a few years ago. Other than that, no. I do have a talent agent, but whenever I kind of got onto ScrewAttack, I went full time with that. I'm still in touch with her every now and then. She helped us get some actors for one of our previous projects.
Oh, okay.
I learn a lot just from self experimentation and practice. For instance, like I said, I never went to film school. Mm-hmm. I had media technology 1 and 2 in high school, which were college level classes, but those were just 2 semesters.
Right.
Outside of that, most of my learning, I love to learn. I love to pick up new skills and hobbies just kind of all the time. I like to think I've been studying film since I was, ever since I started watching it, because Sean Boland and I will have movie marathons, and we'll basically almost every week we'll watch a new film that I haven't seen. Mm-hmm. The reason I haven't seen a lot of films is because the films I have seen I watch over and over and over and over. I do the same with music, just because some people it drives crazy, but for me, it's fine with me. But that's how I kind of study film. I see how they progress the story, how they do the shots, and everything like that. That's same with acting. When I was younger, I would kind of pay attention to how Anthony Hopkins and Jack Nicholson acted in Silence of the Lambs and The Shining and stuff like that.
Oh wow!
That's just kind of I guess kind of model myself after that at first, and just kind of went from there, and self-taught for the most part.
Nice. Now, when you say that you go ahead and listen to a song over and over again, or you watch a movie over and over again, now that I've learned how to do video editing on the most basic of levels, I sit down and I go back and I watch A New Hope, for example. Mm-hmm. And when I strip away the practical effects and everything, and I see what computer-based imagery they did back then, I think I'm starting to understand what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. When I go see another movie like Crank, for example, that was almost exclusively shot in little handy cams, I can also kind of see where they're picking up all the shots like that. What movie do you seem to go back to watching over and over again as much as it is for entertainment, but as a learning experience, as both as a director and an actor?
Let's see. It's hard to say one specific film. When it comes to shooting action choreography, fight choreography, mm-hmm. I'll always go back to Legend of Drunken Master, Jackie Chan's. That is my favorite martial arts action film, mm-hmm. To be specific. Just because the way he shoots it, that's basically my gold standard for whenever I see a fight scene. because a lot of Hollywood films, and even films outside of Hollywood, the way they shoot their action scenes, like they shape the camera so much, they move the camera around way too often, they get way too close, and like for instance, to hide the fact that the actors can't do the moves, or in a weird way, like make it more exciting for some reason.
Right.
Whereas if you just pull back and stare the camera down and actually see what they're doing, like it's much more intelligible, like the way Jackie Chan will direct and shoot his action. And like it's funny, like in Furious 7, not my favorite film, it's fun, but Paul Walker died.
Right.
You can see certain areas, like little tricks that they did to replace him in some of the fight scenes. Like they put him in like silhouettes and shadows, and they hit his face during some of the fight scenes to finish those out. And like those are great techniques if your actor dies and you have to fill in his spaces. But sometimes they'll use those same techniques for just actors who just can't move. It's not that they can't move; it's just that the production didn't really give them time to teach them. Like in The Matrix, most of the fighting is the actual actors because it took 6 months to train them in Kung Fu. And they also did the choreography at a good speed. Like it's not really fast like Jackie Chan, and it's not really slow. It's a good speed that it's still gripping, it's still engaging, but they shot it as best as they could to have the actors in like 90% of the shots. So.
Yeah, and it certainly paid off. You can go back and watch the original. I'm going to not talk... The dojo really doesn't want to talk about Reloaded and Revolution. But,
neither do I.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just forget those. Forget about those.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's a really good point that was the first movie that I really can remember that put such a strong emphasis on the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, the first printing of it had the follow the white rabbit thing, and if something came up, you click the remote and watch it all happen. I never really thought of it that way as terms of the training that went in for the actors as much as it. You've always seen like, this is your gun, this is the safety, this is the thing. When it's on the table, it's time to learn. But the whole martial arts side of it, I never really paid that much thought until you brought it up just now. One for me, and like I said, I don't fancy myself as an actor at all, but it's just one of those things that when I like try to figure out, like when it comes to like timing and everything, Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh yeah.
Like clearly, Jason Statham knew most of the cast going into that on a level that he was palling around with a bunch of his friends, but he was not the star of the film either. He was one of the leaders. That one is just for the sake of timing and just dialogue. That one makes me go, how about that? It feels like you were just listening in on an actual conversation. When acting becomes not acting, like in the industry, it's the lines get blurred so much. That's something that is really hard to put light in a
Guy
bottle.
Ritchie likes to have really natural flowing conversations, and Quentin Tarantino is known for really kind of realistic yet clever dialogue.
Like True Romance, for example, he maintains that whole bit with Slater is like the best writing he's ever done, and he hasn't felt like he's surpassed it. But that's him. Who knows?
But yeah, you were talking about behind the scenes, like I was saying earlier, like I would study films by just watching them over and over.
Right.
But like when I was a kid, and like even today, like when I was a kid, I would watch like behind the scenes on the Alien movies, behind the scenes on like Star Wars. Like we had VHSs of behind the scenes, and I loved DVDs when I was a kid when it started coming out because most of them had behind the scenes. It's like, this is my film school right here. So for years, I'm watching the film and behind the scenes. So
it's your textbook, your digital textbook. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's fantastic. Now, now have you found time as time has gone on, of course, to still log any time playing any of the games recently? There's been quite an embarrassment of riches that have hit the industry in the last 12 months. Have you been making any time to find out if there's anything on the market that you've been feeding an addiction towards, like Bolin has with Fallout?
Man, I don't even have a PS4. I don't even have a PS3. I still have a PS2. So I'm kind of behind on games. The only way I was actually able to play Metal Gear Solid 4 when it came out was my roommate in New Hampshire, when I went up to college for a semester there, had a PS3, and my friend had the game. So I borrowed it, and I just played on his console for 3 days straight. But no, unfortunately, like, I've got a lot of bills I got to pay, so I haven't had time.
I completely understand.
And a lot of my money will go to Kung Fu. So
actually,
I haven't.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I haven't actually had time to even just invest money into buying a PlayStation 4. So I've I've been really behind on like I've actually never really played Destiny, even though I've made
You're
two videos
bet
about it.
you're better off not.
I mean, it looks fun. I would like to play it, but like I played like 10 minutes of the like alpha when it came out. Like I was late at the office hanging out with like Nick or something. But yeah, like unfortunately, I just haven't had time to play any new games. Like.
Well, you know, that's okay. But, you know, I do appreciate that you went out of your way to play Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm a big fan of the Metal Gear Solid series.
Yeah, that's...
I want to get around... I want to get a PS4 so I can play 5.
I've been playing 5 on my Xbox One for... there was a couple of weeks where I actually had to stop playing it because I was averaging maybe about 3 hours of sleep a night. Because these open world games are like a crack addiction for me. I have to find a way to rein myself in because it's not just about clearing one area and going to another. It has day to night transitions, weather patterns, reinforcements will show up, and of course there's the whole thing of micromanaging mother base and all that fun stuff. So it's something that if you're going to sink your teeth into, you're going to be sinking it for a very long time. So make sure you go and take a vacation week whenever you get that. And as far as the PS2s, man, that thing's got such an embarrassment of riches when it comes to games. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just having that. You're going to have like a catalog of 1,200 to choose from. So,
of course, yeah, it's got a huge catalog.
Yeah, but you know, there's something that you brought up there that I just that completely escaped my mind. Kung Fu. Let's talk about that for a hot second.
All right, yeah.
When did you start studying it, and is there a particular discipline of Kung Fu that you're focusing on?
Okay, so yeah. So a while ago, several years ago, I couldn't find a proper Kung Fu school. Like, there's plenty of Taekwondo and like, you know, American karate stuff around here. But I couldn't find any Kung Fu schools, even on Google for some reason. But luckily through my Google searches, I found some like really good quality DVDs and books from YMAA Publications. So basically, going back to watching things over and over and learning from watching, like I learned like long fist Kung Fu from books and DVDs. And I try to create my own, you know, training regimen and stuff. But I never, like, my friends at the time, like, none of them cared about Kung Fu. None of them wanted to learn it. So I was always training by myself. I was like, oh, God damn it. No one to train with. And I'd train on and off, you know, for sometimes really intensely, and sometimes, you know, I just wouldn't train at all, and I'd go back into it. But then luckily I found the school I'm going to now, which has been here since, like, maybe 2000, if not earlier. So if I had known about it, you know, earlier, I would have gone. But I just didn't know about it. And I've been there for going on 4 years now. And the style that Master Lee teaches is Mahjong Lawhorn, which is a northern style with some southern influence. I chose that school because it's all about in Dallas, like the actual Dallas. So it's like a 30-minute drive for me from work.
Dallas proper.
Yeah, and so it's a bit of a drive for me. They have a sister school that the students from Master Lee opened that school, which is actually like 5 minutes from work. But I chose to go to the Dallas school because I wanted to get as close to the source as possible, because Master Lee himself is from China.
Oh, wow.
And he was one of the last two personal students of his master. And his master is insane. Like, I would love to make a film about his master, Master Yip. Not Bruce Lee's master, a different Master Yip.
Right.
Someday. Because, like, you know, it was his family style. He learned it from his family. And he went on to work for caravans and banks. And in that time, like, they would have to transport the bank money in the caravan across the desert. Well, the bandits.
The real hardcore stuff.
Exactly. So he had a gun on him, but it was like a single loader gun, you know, the little old musket, little handgun.
Right.
And that was to kill himself if he got kidnapped by the bandits, because they would torture him.
Right.
So he never used that gun because he lived on to teach my master.
Right.
But he fought as a living. And then when he got bored of that job, he trained 2 Chinese armies before he moved to Shanghai and started teaching.
Oh my goodness.
So his master is a total badass. And my master, like, he kicked ass in all sorts of competitions in China, and even today, like, he's like 70 years old, and he can stand like next to me, and with his outer leg kick behind him, and hit me in the back of the head.
Wow.
Yeah, he's intense, and like he can still kick you in the face. And like I've held a pad to my chest, and he's punched it. And like I'm glad I was holding the pad. I'm glad he wasn't going full force because he would probably break my sternum.
Oh yeah,
But
right
he's
here.
like he's the closest I can get to training in the woods with some old master. And he's awesome. He's got a great sense of humor. But he's a total badass.
Wow.
But yeah, he's totally awesome. So
That's crazy.
yeah, I actually just signed up for Tai Chi as well because he teaches Tai Chi.
Oh my.
So I'm doing Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And he teaches it as a martial art, which Tai Chi is a martial art, and a lot of people just think it's just meditation and just chi work and stuff. But
Right.
first and foremost, it's meant to fight. But I try to go to class every single day of the week now. So
That's supreme dedication.
well, it's something I love, and I want to master it for self-defense, and I also just want to be really good at it, so I can be on screen doing cool fights.
Yeah. Now, you just brought to my attention that most people know Tai Chi is just purely for meditation. I was one of those people too until you just brought it up. What is its style compared to most other martial arts that the Western world knows of?
So to really condense this,
TLDR.
yeah. So basically, you have external styles and internal styles.
Okay.
So most kung fu are external, and like Muay Thai is external. And that what that means is like physical force. Of course, there's physics behind it and all that jazz, so on and so forth. But more so than other, it relies on muscular force, the strength of your muscles and how you use them. Whereas internal styles focus more on like using your actual chi and everything, and like more directing someone's energy. So if someone throws a punch at you, instead of just blocking it and then attacking them back, you use their own force against them. One of the sayings is so like tails, not like a dog tail, but like tail was like a type of money, like little coins.
Tails never fails.
Yeah, so like 4 tails leads 1,000 pounds, and the whole idea behind Tai Chi is using very minimal effort and just proper body positioning and like rounded movements to take someone's force and like basically throw them off of you.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like he was illustrating some of these points like in Kung Fu one time, like how to like break out of like joint locks and like people holding you down. And like Sean Boland like weighs almost 100 pounds more than I do, and like he sat on top of me and held me down, and I was able to, with the principles of Tai Chi, just easily throw him off of me.
What was the expression upon his face when that happened?
Oh, he fell over. So I just very slightly moved, and he was off of me, just using the principles of Tai Chi. Whereas the principles of Kung Fu would be more like striking, like oh, he's sitting on top of me, I'm gonna try to punch him in the face.
Right.
Tai Chi, well, I'm just gonna throw him off of me. So.
Nice.
But long story short, there's a lot more to it, but
Right. Well, there you go, guys. There's your homework. I want you to go ahead and not go on. Look, if you're gonna go on Wikipedia, at least cite your sources from Wikipedia and tweet back to me and John.
Really good information for Kung Fu is actually ymaa.com. That's where, like, before I knew about Master Lee, that's where I got all my books and DVDs from, and self-studied from his stuff. So he goes into great detail, even in his articles on the website. So.
My goodness, wow, that is pretty awesome. Like I said, there's like it's like the bloomin' onion here, that we have peeled back so many layers here, and it's just been absolutely fascinating the entire way through. Now, I've got 2 more for you, and then
sure, yeah.
and then we'll punch the time clock, as it were. I was a manager for a Joseph A. Bank Clothiers for longer than I cared to be, but I walked away with a pretty awesome wardrobe as a result.
Cool,
of
nice,
it.
yeah.
You have had the reputation of being a snappy dresser consistently. Is that just your thing, or is it something that you picked up from a previous job, or something that came out of necessity? It's not that common to see the level of effort in wardrobe that we see with you most of the time that you're on camera. Where did that all come from, if you don't mind me asking?
I like the style, and most often I actually feel more comfortable in a suit, and just with the vest on and everything like that. And it's kind of funny because, like, if I could time travel back to middle school, and like meet myself, because in middle school I was shaggy hair,
Right.
baggy clothes. didn't care about fashion, as I, would notoriously say. And then I would grow up to, wear suits and, dress nicely and have like slick back hair and all that jazz. It just, over time, it kind of grew on me. Like, I think part of it was like, I love to sew. I love to like make my own patterns and make my own clothes whenever I can.
Respect. No, I'm serious. It's a skill that most everybody should have.
Definitely. My thoughts too. So like, I think just as I got more into like how to actually construct clothing, like as with all my other like interests, like I try to dive into it and just learn as much as I can. I just got more aware of like fashion. And I'm not like a connoisseur by any means. I can just recognize when something looks good. I can't exactly tell you why it looks good. I mean, to an extent as some famed fashion designer could. But I grew to appreciate it. And like, unfortunately, for a while now, I haven't really been able to dress up in suits as regularly as often because like I teach Sean Kung Fu now, so I'll teach him in the mornings before work, and then I'll leave to go to class.
Right.
So going to office, changing out of the suit, out of the suit to
that could
Sean, and then putting it back on, and then going to class to change out of the suit again to put on my uniform. And I'm sweaty after that, so it'd just be a lot of work.
Yeah, you really can't pull the Atticus Finch when you have a day like that.
Yeah.
And that's a reference I can't even do most of the time anyway. If you got it, that's fantastic. It just kind of came out of my mouth on its own. Because GameStop for the longest time, it was business casual all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, if I put something on, it was staying on till I got home, until I was, like, time to shower and go to bed. Same thing happened at Joe Banks. It was the same thing. It was just, like, there was no point in changing out. But when you're doing what you're doing, you don't want to ruin this stuff, It has value. And speaking of value, this just popped into my head. How in blue blazes did that suit of yours hold up through the shooting of the industry? That season finale?
I bought a suit from the thrift store and got it tailored.
Right.
And then I had like an old vest that was actually torn a bit.
Right.
So I used that. Suits are surprisingly, they hold together really well. That's one of the reasons I feel comfortable wearing them a lot.
Because it looked like it was made out of worsted wool. This is like merino, and that would have fallen to pieces if I tried to slide across the floor like that.
I ended up putting a small little hole in one of the knees because we were done filming. We were, playing around. We're doing when Sean does the slide.
Right.
He was trying to teach me to do that slide, and I just wasn't getting it right as he was. I'll get it down someday. But I actually like hit my knee a little too hard, and it skidded on the plastic, and I noticed it. It made a very tiny hole, so I still wear those pants. But after we finished shooting is the only time that I put any kind of dent in that suit.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then one day, when it comes to pass that it can no longer be worn, it'll be put in some fantastic shadow box or something like that. It's like, this suit will live on in infamy and well, not infamy, but wonderful memories. So, good deal. Man, this has been awesome, but any parting words for the G1s about the real you? Because I think we've gotten to know the real you, but any parting words for anybody who's watching right now?
Man, I don't know. I guess I'm just pretty chill. I mean, I have a reputation about being this crazy person who does all these things, and like people will build up like, oh, he's a master at kung fu. It's like I never said that. I'm far from a master. I just love to learn, and expect to see me on the big screen in 2 or 3 years. So.
That's something I'm looking forward to, because I'll be able to want to walk into the theater and go, I know that guy! Look, see where he started and look where he is now. That's definitely something that I want to be able to do one day and proudly say I went to go see a John Francis McCullagh production. So,
thank you.
Yes, so good deal. Jono, I will join you back on the Skype machine momentarily, sir.
Cool.
And there you have it. My goodness gracious. I at a loss to put into words what we just saw here. There is so much to John that I just found out right now that I hope you two watching at home have just absorbed like a sponge. And seriously, if you can make it down to SGC, please go ahead and shake his hand and thank him for everything he's done, because I'm not kidding when I say the industry is my most favorite thing that hit the site in a very, very long time. think about how much effort has gone into it just based on what he's saying here and multiply it by 10. And that was just for like 1 or 2 episodes. So seriously, wow. So mad props to John for being here. So anyways, let me recompose myself because I've been gushing like crazy. So anyways, be sure to follow him on Twitter. You saw it grace across your screen for the last 60 minutes or so. And please tell him how much his work means to you and thank him for everything that he's done. And also at the same token, please be sure to follow me on the Twitter machine right here for all future updates about the G1 interview and when the next episode's launch. And of course, scrolling at the marquee at the bottom are the various social media contacts that you can reach me out when it comes to streaming. I'm on Hitbox and on Twitch for the G1 Game Days at Tom the Iron Man, all one word. Of course, I'm also on YouTube, which is where this video is being hosted right now at Iron Man 3582. That is a reference to something in my past, and I promise I will explain it someday. And of course, ScrewAttack.com, Tom the Iron Man, hyphens all in between. So there you go. Man, awesome times to be had here, and many more to come as the 10th anniversary interviews are counting down. So by all means, stay tuned. There's lots more fun to be had. So that being said, special thanks to Sean Hines, Sean Boland, Craig Skistimus, and Mad Hero for giving me the opportunity to continue the G1 interview in this video format. It's a ton of fun. I relish it every time, but I hope everybody at home is enjoying it as well. So that being said, good morning, good evening, and good day to whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you next time on the G1 interview for G1 Features exclusively on ScrewAttack.com. Take care, guys. Hey yo G1s, thank you for watching the latest entry in the special edition interviews for the ScrewAttack 10th anniversary. After spending some time with John Francis, there was a lot more to him than I ever expected, and it was a grand time indeed getting to know him. And not just for what he does at the office, but his various side projects and his kung fu wizardry. Truly amazing stuff. And on the side of the amazing, if you haven't seen the previous installment of the ScrewAttack 10th anniversary special edition series featuring Stuttering Craig himself, by all means click on the annotation on the screen and add it to your watch queue of G1 interview viewing goodness. Setting up to talk to Craig was 3 months in the making, so prepare yourself for a barrage of ScrewAttack greatness and get to more about one of the masterminds that gave us this wonderful website. That being said, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel or G1 Features, please be sure to do so and keep your viewing experience smooth and consistent. There are a ton more interviews to go for this special edition series, and when you do partake of them, please share them on all social media platforms that you participate in, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or even Tumblr. Whatever it takes to get the word out about this program, G1 Features, and most importantly, ScrewAttack.com, our home and our place that we all love so very much. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, guys. Seriously. I mean, as much as I loved using those test pattern cards whenever I screw up, it's just like, come on, you know, like, I'm laughy, I'm loosey, I'm silly during this, but like I want to at least have it being bookended by like some composure and professionalism.